On Checkpoint, we have Gabriel Muthuma, who's a political analyst. Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us on Checkpoint this evening. We also have Ambrose, Weda, who's a lawyer, stroke political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you for making time for us here on Checkpoint. A lot has happened this past week. And I think for me, one thing that stands out is the standoff between the executive and the judiciary. And of course, it didn't start now. So that's part of the conversation I want to have with both Gabriel Muthuma and Ambrose Weda. And it has rightly been explained in one of our stories in the Standard newspaper today. I'm hoping you can take a look at what we had in the Standard newspaper today. What is the standoff right now between the executive and the judiciary? Pressure continuing to mount on President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint the 6 judges who missed out in his recent appointment gazette notice of 34 judges. So what we do know as at now is that Nakuru-based Medik Magare Gikenyi is the latest to move to court, seeking to compel the head of state to appoint the 6 judges. So back and forth between the executive and the judiciary. Ambrose Weda, let me begin with you. First of all, good to see you. Talk to me about what your thoughts are on the decision by President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint 34 out of 40 judges. And of course, that has caused quite an uproar within the judiciary.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you for having me on this. Viewers, good evening, and I trust you are all well, keeping safe during these difficult times. Allow me to congratulate His Excellency the President for appointing the 34 judges. That is a step in the right direction in view of where he's coming from. His earlier refusal to appoint the 41, one of them, Mr. Okeji, has since passed on.
Weda, hold on, Weda, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I hear you.
Okay, your sound has an issue, so as I give my team time to sort it out, let me address the same question to Gabriel Muthuma. Muthuma, what are your thoughts? The president appointing 34 out of 40. This is a journey that has taken 2 years, of course, from the former Chief Justice David Maraga putting his foot down, telling the president all or nothing. What are your thoughts?
Well, Linda, thank you. It's always a pleasure having, to join this broadcast every Sunday. Well, Ambrose Wakili was actually explaining something, which I think he was actually bringing up a very good, valid point. That, it's first of all, the 34 that are coming in, it's actually a good thing. It's actually indeed a step in the right direction. So for the remainder, I think we need to see how it's going to play out. Because as you put it rightly, Linda, yeah, there has been noise that has come from all sides, including some very renowned legal fraternity as well as persons. Just the other day I was reading what, Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo said, and actually he tweeted by saying, once the president has been presented with the names from JSC, he has no option but to actually gazette all the judges. Now, yes, one of the 41 did actually, depart through a road accident. So on this one, we have to really wait and see, because the legal minds of our country, and here I have to say some of the greatest legal minds that we have are actually advising the head of state that, the law is very clear that every name you get from JSC or you got from JSC must be gazetted. And that's why I'm saying, Linda, on this one, it'll be tricky, but we have to wait and see.
It will be tricky because, Muthuma, the antagonistic kind of relationship that has been there between the judiciary and the executive, like I did mention, did not start yesterday. It has been on for a while. And this seems like a very rocky start for the Chief Justice, Martha Koome. She hasn't been been in office for a month. And then this. And I know while she was being interviewed, she was asked, okay, how would you sort this out? And she said, I would negotiate with the head of state. This is a rocky start. It's not going to be easy for the CJ, is it?
Well, true. Again, you're very right. And I think the statement, the word you want to look, Linda, here, I think you're really trying to position the revisit word. You probably, looking to say that the executive has revisited. Well, as much as probably would like to give them, a small flack, I think that's not the case here. But you may actually recall the road between the executive and the judiciary, as you rightly put it, has actually been murky in some way. I remember there was a time there, Maraga would issue, the former Chief Justice, would issue even almost near threats, when he would say he was not going to attend national holidays. And you saw how that rolled. So I think I've actually assigned the 100 days of our new CJ. And I know she's up to the task. But key among them, once she comes in, I think it's to mend that relationship with the executive. And not only the executive, but also she has to do a lot of work so that the public can gain trust in the judiciary. Remember, two of the Chief Justice who are there before, the past and the immediate past, they have actually come out to say that judiciary was actually corrupt. There was rot within the judiciary. Now, I'm not talking about all the judicial officers. Of course, there are amazing judicial officers who have served Kenyans, with a lot of passion. But at the same time, we are being told by the president of the High Court, but both of them, by the way, that there were rogue judges. So what does that really speak of the new CJ who has come in? First and foremost, like you put it, he has to mend that. Negotiating, I like that word, negotiating. Yeah. If she goes by that, if she does not take a hard stance, and also for this one, the executive also should not take a hard stance. They should be able to marinate their energies and provide justice for Kenyans.
And you see, the reason why I'm saying the Chief Justice will have a difficult time, quote unquote, is because you remember during Madaraka Day celebration just a couple of days ago, the president touched a little bit on the ruling by the High Court on the BBI. I'm hoping you can listen into what the president had to say on Madaraka Day, touching on the judiciary as well during Madaraka Day celebrations. President Uhuru Kenyatta, do we have that bite? Jacob?
To both the letter and the spirit of the law, and it is not open to me to turn a blind eye to reports of our state organs. As long as I serve as president, I will choose the right over the convenient, I will choose the hard over the easy, and I am not doing this for myself, but for the people of Kenya and for posterity.
Muthuma, do I still have you?
Well, Linda, I think yes. Linda, I think the relationship, which, again, this is my opinion, where the president is trying to tag in when it comes to BBI, really many people who share the legal advantage will tell you that it has to do a lot with the ombudsman. And the reason why I bring the ombudsman in this one, and the reason why, our BBI proposed it, and this is my guess, and probably I think it is informed, and probably Weda may tell us when he joins us, is because, the judiciary, the runaway corruption within the judiciary is what I think the ombudsman was coming to figure it out. And here, it's like, how do you bring confidence to a judiciary where, if left alone to their devices, you're still talking about corruption therein? How best, if you are not going to have this ombudsman office? And by the way, Linda, that's why I'm saying this is my guess, and I hope it is informed. How else do you weed out this corruption? And that's why I think, even moving forward, I don't really think that probably CJ will subscribe to the ombudsman really coming to judiciary. But then if she doesn't, then they have to work really hard to show both the executive and the public that they don't need to have another prefect really, are coming to, to shine another light, onto the judiciary. So I think this is where, the also president actually took also another, another hit at judiciary, because he believed the prayers that he had, brought to court on BBI were quite valid. And he was shocked when all the judges, unison really threw out those prayers. So I think, probably, yes, he may hope to get, advantage when it comes to the Court of Appeal. But really, I think the reason why he brought that verbiage and that conversation in Madaraka Day is primarily the link between the judiciary and the ombudsman that is actually being driven by the executive.
Let me see if we can have Weda now. Weda, are we good now? Can you hear me? Weda, I need you to unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? Are we good?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you.
Wow, Weda, give me a few minutes. Let me get the team again to try and see if they can sort you out. Muthuma, listen, part of the reason why the CJ, Martha Koome, may find herself in trouble is because of this. I've listened to legal minds talking about the swearing in of the judges at State House, and they're saying, look, this happened against 2 court orders against this entire process, and the law is very clear. The president does not have the option of cherry-picking who to appoint and who not to appoint. And you had the CJ there. So the presence of her, her presence at State House, of course, is going to raise quite a little bit of storm for her. She may not have it easy, will she?
Well, no, I don't think she will, but there is also something that, Lindah, most of us have to, to know that even as we talk about the 6, the unsworn 6, first of all, for them to be left out is quite damaging.
Yeah.
Because the president has clearly said that he has intelligence as to the 6. So remember, they are still serving. They are still serving. There are judicial officers who are still serving as we speak. So where does that leave them? And that's why I think when you say the current Chief Justice, Lady Justice Martha Koome, is going to get to have a rough time, it is indeed going to be rough because, I mean, how do you negotiate against the backdrop of, of a legal statement or a law that talks about, gazetting all the members, all the judges, all the names rather that you have been given by the JSC. I think, Lindah, here, I mean, it's going to be, it's going to take some great work from the CJ. And again, I also think she may actually invoke.
But then you also have this antagonistic kind of relationship between the judiciary and the legislature, and you're coming in as a new Chief Justice. What options did she have, if at all?
Well, first of all, I'd like to think, again, this is me wearing a judicial thinking cap.
Don't worry,
maybe right, maybe wrong.
Put on that hat.
Maybe right, maybe wrong, but this is my guess.
Yeah.
First of all, I think as a self-respecting CJ, she had to look at the backlog. And that's what has been scaring everybody. Remember, during all this time, when these judges were not gazetted, the JSC could not interview anyone else. All right? So until the 40 were sworn in. So I think she ran quickly when the other 34 were actually, gazetted. She ran quickly to ensure that this process goes. And probably in the back of her mind, she's like, you know what? Because of all these backlogs, let me have these 34, and then we can argue about the 6. Could that be the cap that she wore? I would probably bet to believe that is what she did. And other option, I mean, if you're the CJ at that point, what other option would you go back to the standard that the former CJ Maraga took and continue seeing the backlog, because there are so many. And by the way, I don't think it ends here. The option, the budget, is coming up this month, Lindah. So she's probably needs, the advantage of these judges to even help lobby for more, funds to be allocated to the judiciary. But more than anything, if I would, place my bet, Lindah, I would actually place it on the fact that, she was like, we need these judges, first of all, to ease the pressure. Any other option would have actually been detrimental. And that is my personal view.
There are those who hope that perhaps the ones who are left out will get a chance to be sworn in as well. Do we have Weda now? Weda? Okay. Weda, worst case scenario, I'll have to do a phone link with you because I believe your internet has issues. Muthuma, as we look at finally at the relationship between the executive and the legislature, Weda, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you well, Lindah.
Perfect. Your network has issues today. You okay?
No, there's a problem you are in because I can do other groups. Why you want?
Okay, Weda, listen.
And I can hear Muthuma, I can see him, I can hear you.
You want to say hi to Muthuma first of all?
Yeah, yes, I've seen him. I see him.
Listen, Weda, I want your quick reaction, first of all, on the swearing in of the judges, 6 who were left out. And this puts the Chief Justice Martha Koome in a difficult position because her colleagues within the judiciary and the legal fraternity say the president did not have the option of picking the judges to swear all of them in or none at all. The CJ found herself in a very tricky position because then she had to be at State House during the swearing in, and now questions are being asked about what this then means for the judiciary. Weda.
Linda, I think let me first of all congratulate His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta for swearing in the 34 out of the 41. One of them, my friend of Mr. Okeke, has since gone to be with the Lord. It is a step in the right direction. It is a major milestone from the original standoff, which ought not to have been there in the first place. There are several court orders directing the president to swear in the 40 judges. He had said no, albeit illegal, and now that he has buzzed for a time, we say that is good. But then it is still incumbent upon him to swear in the remaining 6. And one of the people was saying, first of all, select and allow the ones he has no problem with to be sworn in. Then now he is faced on the others that he is saying he has a problem with. And he's saying he seems to have a problem with the 6. Now, this is the time when it can be clearly told, my president is told, you have no constitutional right to cherry-pick those who swear in and those who do not swear in, those who gazette and those who do not gazette. There may be issues we are seeing using the NSIS or others, but there is a constitutional route. The constitutional route is to have these complaints presented before the Judicial Service Commission, and then the Judicial Service Commission will look at it, and then if there is need, it will be recommended to him, and then he will appoint a tribunal to investigate these people. So it would be good to have these people appointed, or the remaining 6, and then if there are complaints against them, present it. It is not good for this country that you go for an interview, you pass, and then the president or somebody else says, we have some tinker, we have some big secrets about Mr. X or Mrs. Y, so we can't appoint him. No, that is setting very dangerous precedent. So I think having the 34 out, now there's a clear route for the 6th, and I think we will continue advising the president to obey the Constitution, to obey the court orders, and to use this opportunity with the new Chief Justice to ensure that there is rapprochement. There is now building bridges with the judiciary, BBJ, building bridges with the judiciary. That we want our president to do, because in the past he has created a very dangerous president that may haunt him when he leaves office, because there are various court orders he has disobeyed, which is not right. Some of us who are lawyers are saying, no, this is not right, Your Excellency. The Constitution gives us various ways. It puts the new Chief Justice in a critical corner. It is taking away from her the gravitas. Yes, it was not her creation. Yes, she has very little to do with it. So she's weakening the new Chief. He is weakening the new Chief Justice sadly. But I would urge the new Chief Justice, Martha Koome, stand still, stand strong, and trust in the Lord. And we know that if there's a problem with the 6, they should be appointed, and then if there is need to appoint a tribunal, tribunals will be appointed. But it is not open for the president to say, I want this, I don't want that. That the Constitution did not give it. In fact, of the 3 arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, it is only the judiciary that is packed with qualified and experienced men and women of the Republic of Kenya. Other organs, people come in and they are elected. Once you can master your home team and they are more than they are, or you can read yourself in, you are in. Whether you don't know how to read and write, or you don't know how to do this, you are in. Therefore, matters of interpretation of the Constitution will and still remain within the province of the judiciary. So I trust and I urge my president, Your Excellency, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the son of God, 1, appoint the other 6, and then take the evidence to the JSC and let them be investigated. Otherwise, gerrymandering and sub-rattling over this continues to generate unnecessary negative energy, and it is wrong.
In a minute to Weda, there are those who are pointing an accusing finger at the new Chief Justice, saying she shouldn't have gone ahead with this, she shouldn't even have been part of it. Is that a sentiment you share?
Why would I say like that? Why would she not go? Surely, the new Chief Justice is not an activist. The Chief Justice is not a pedestrian activist. She is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Even if one judge was being sworn in, she would go. And when she goes there, that is when the Your Excellency, they were 40. We have only sworn in one. Where are the others? Some of these things, this, what we call stiff-neck approach to all the issues is also not good for a country. We would not want now the new Chief Justice to say, I'm not going for the swearing unless we do the 34, unless we do the 40. No, she can still go, the 34 can go, they continue working. Then the president should tell us, where are the other things?
Okay.
And then after the president gives his explanation, he could have said, oh, there was a mistake in the Gazette notice, or I do not want to swear. Then he will be told, you cannot cherry pick. You have to go on. That is how it works. So whoever is trying to blame the new Chief Justice, you are wrong, they are wrong. She's not an activist. Let's get that very clear. And what she did to attend the swearing was correct. And let us join her and let other Kenyans join in continuing to pray for President Uhuru Kenyatta, asking him, begging him, cajoling him, talking to him, that he should swear in the other thing. Then we move on.
Muthuma, the president may also find himself in trouble because this is not, the swearing in of the judges happened despite 2 court orders. And there are those who seem to think that the president has ignored too many court orders. One was on the appointment of CASS. Of course, the other one was on Kenya Meat Commission. He even went there the other day. And then now we have this one on judges. I want us to listen to 2 gentlemen who are speaking about the legacy that the president may have when he leaves office and why ignoring court orders may actually work against the president in terms of his legacy.
Between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the judiciary is going to escalate. The judiciary must fight to get their independence. They will not be given.
So by the end of his term as president, his legacy will be a leader who never respected the rule of law, the constitution and constitutionalism.
Muthuma, he will be a president who will have a legacy of not respecting the rule of law, do you think?
Well, you see, there's something that happens, Linda, when the president is taking the oath of office.
Yeah.
And key among that is he's among the only people. When I say among, I think there are several, maybe him and his deputy, and I know other officers probably do that, but there are not so many people who swear to uphold and protect the Constitution. So behind any other feeling or cutting, the president must follow the law because he swore to protect the Constitution, which is the law. So having said that, I think there could be, and probably many times we've had people actually pointing fingers at the Attorney General. He says, this person is sometimes a tendency of not following these court orders. Or when it comes, is it that another judge, and probably this is something Weda can tell us, how do you go about it when there is a serious attempt to say that the legacy of the president will be marred by the very fact that he never followed the law? So I sometimes really ask and wonder, why or how does it get there? It is something really I'm still trying to get my hand around, Linda.
Let's see if Weda can help you. Weda.
Linda, I feel very sad that my president will go into history as one of those presidents who disobeyed court orders, numerous court orders, wantonly and in a careless manner. I feel very sad as a lawyer. I feel very sad as his keen supporter. I feel very sad as one of the people who worked very hard to ensure that he has a clean legacy, a good legacy, and a point of reference for future presidents. There are very many good things the president has done that I wish he would have just known that these court orders, they have to be obeyed. We have, on the side of the president, benefited from the court orders. When there was an attempt to bar him from running in 2013, it is the same court that said he and the Deputy President William Ruto are free to run because they are deemed innocent until they are found guilty. Same court order. It can't be that when it is a court order in your favor, it is hallelujah. When it is against your actions, it is anathema. We do not operate like that. Why this happens is that I think there are people, some people are non-lawyers, who do not understand the law, who think that things can be done by fear. So they encourage the president to follow fear. And that fear is why you disobey court orders. This will come to haunt the president after he leaves office. Because I've read the history of politics and the judiciary. There is no government, there is no politician, there is no president that has won a war against the judiciary. Why? Because the judiciary deals in writing. And written materials last for generations. What Moses wrote, we are still reading almost 2,000, 3,000 years, 4,000, 7,000 years ago. Writing. So when a judge writes and says something and releases, you are still reading and reading the Kapenguria trial of Jomo Kenyatta, and you are able to discern and see what was good and what went wrong. So I continue urging my president, Your Excellency, obey this court order. Take advantage of the coming in of the new Chief Justice, Martha Koome, and have a reproach. Do what is called a BBJ. Building bridges with the judiciary so that what had gone wrong can be corrected. Where things are so difficult, it can be sorted out. Some are done with diplomacy, some are done by obeying, some are done by appealing, some are done by going for review. It is not fear. It seems Kenyans are resilient in fighting for some of these things, and it will not be well if we continue this way. I see a window. Therefore, let that window be taken by the president. Let it be taken. Those who are telling the president, disobey, 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 those are his enemies.
Okay. I hear you. And I like the fact that you've touched a little bit on the Building Bridges initiative, and you're saying perhaps you should use building bridges to bridge the rift between the executive and the judiciary. Part of the reason why we are having this conversation is because there are those who say Kenya would not be where it is right now. The president would not disregard court orders freely as he is if there was a working opposition in the country. I want us to take a look at a story that we had in our paper today that also charts the way for the conversation we are having this evening. And of course, the peace pact between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga in March 2018. Handshake radically changed the face of Kenyan politics. Although the handshake brought peace and lowered political temperature, it also killed effective opposition in Kenya. ODM leader Raila Odinga is increasingly finding himself in an unfamiliar silent space, even as the opposition suffers a loud lack of a formidable political figure. And the head of state has capitalized on the emerging scenarios to take charge, call shots in virtually all the three arms of government. And I want us to listen to Njeru Kathangu again on the opposition, of course, in that story that was done by Patrick Memo. Let's listen in to Njeru Kathangu on the role of opposition and whether or not the opposition is there.
It is a mix that is very strange, that the opposition leader in this country and the opposition party he leads joins Uhuru, the president, and the team he leads in government. to be one people, and therefore what we call the opposition politics in a democratic process, in a democratic nation, in a republic like Kenya, becomes non-existent immediately.
Gabriel Muthuma, Kenya would not find itself in the position it does, and the president would not disregard court orders, and perhaps things would be done in an appropriate way if we had the official opposition. There are those who seem to think the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga put the last nail on the opposition, has given the president a free will, so to speak, a free rein that has flown against established legal order and constitutionalism.
Well, Linda, this is so funny because I was arguing with somebody about the very same question that you've asked. And here we were looking at, you may have recalled the court order that came for Miguna to be presented, you know, in front of Judge Enoch Chacha-Mwita. And the fact that when they were being asked to produce him, somebody had already been put on a plane and actually been deported. Yeah. And at that time, it looked funny because, you know, the judge even himself was saying, this is something very peculiar. It has never happened before where, you know, a person is said to be a citizen of a country of birth and he's been deported now to a, you know, and he's being called a prohibited immigrant. I mean, it was something that was quite funny, even though in one end, it was also serious because you had somebody who was was born in this country and was being, called a prohibited immigrant. And before you could say, cut and a half, he was already on a plane headed back to his country of naturalization. So it was kind of funny. But we also saw the opposition leader at that time, running to the airport. The way things happen, and I think if we can use that as a case study or as an example, it tells you, Linda, that you need a very strong, and not only strong, a very effective opposition. Now, when you talk about opposition, Linda, I'm not saying that anything the government does, and here I'm talking about the government of the day, anything that they do, you oppose it. No, I am talking about really looking to hold the government accountable, mainly in what they've said they are going to do. Sometimes, yes, you can look at assisting government in matters of policy where you actually come and support and say, if you go with this, we are going to rally behind you because we believe what you want to achieve is great for this country. So I think when we talk about opposition, it's just not a matter of opposing government. But more than anything, Linda, is that you would need an effective and strong opposition so that the government does not go against the democratic principles, all right? And we have seen this happen. We have seen this happen. So it is always good to have an opposition that's putting checks and balances in a government. In our case, really, yes, the handshake and BBI, has brought something that Kenyans, most of them believe that, the opposition has gone in bed, with the government. And as such, the government has been given a leeway, and that is why they are able to, like what you're saying, to throw their hands on court orders. Oh, exactly, we won't do it, and not only that, they are actually able to cast their net wide, and some other times, they have been accused actually of attempting to stifle democracy in various areas. So that is why many people are saying no. If we had a live opposition, then I think some of these things, like what you're saying, the issue of court orders and the issue of judges, even though some people, not only the opposition, but also within government, have called out the executive on this one. So I think sometimes it's good that we keep talking about this issue of, having a strong and efficient an effective opposition. So it's just not, the right thing to say that just because you are on the same or you are talking with government, you should not be able to hold them to account or responsible. No, you also need to also be in tune with the people, of the country so that democracy is not stifled.
Okay. Weda, so President Uhuru Kenyatta has sort of enjoyed an unchecked three-year roller coaster from March 2018. There are those who seem to think this is now an emboldened executive that believes it can do whatever it is it wants because there is no opposition, so to speak. And when you talk about opposition, there are those who whose mind go directly to ODM leader Raila Odinga, and they say perhaps Raila Odinga should speak out on some of the happenings right now. What are your thoughts?
Linda, I really hate what is called a escapist approach to issues. If you look at the Constitution of Kenya, there is no article where it is written, Honorable Raila Odinga is the leader of the opposition or stand in opposition on behalf of the people of Kenya. The Constitution of Kenya envisages that the executive will be checked by the judiciary and the legislature. The president appoints cabinet. After he has done that, he is supposed to be checked by parliament and judiciary. We have like the American system where the MP for Gatundu should be the first to check the excesses of the Uhuru administration.
Is it?
As long as it's not in power. Trying to say, oh, now Raila not. Oh.
No, wait, Weda, hold on. But I know you've said that the government should be checked by the judiciary and the legislature. Is it happening?
Let me go there, please. Let me discount this thing of saying, oh, the handshake, now the handshake, Raila. Let's get this clear.
Okay.
That the government is supposed to be checked by the judiciary and the legislature. The judiciary is doing its part. What about the legislature? The legislature is not doing its part. Why is it not doing its part? Because we have elected leaders in there on the basis of party, on the basis of tribe, and on the basis of corruption. We are putting their charlatans and vultures of the action, some quickly, who cannot even read the budget estimate. They cannot do anything. They are the ones who are supposed to check. They are the ones who are supposed to tell the president, Your Excellency, you have not done this, we're not going to do this. They are the ones who are being paid to check. They are the ones who are protected to check. Let us not put all our hopes in an individual. They are all the thing of things that whoever trusts in a human being, blah, 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 blah. So, what you should know is that the failure of the legislature to check the Uhuru administration should not be transferred to somebody and say, oh, now that Raila has it, oh, that is wrong. It is a strategy. Let us elect strong leaders. People can stand up. People can support government when they do right and can say no when they do wrong. People can congratulate the president when they do a good job and tell His Excellency, Your Excellency, this court order needs to be obeyed. If you don't obey, you don't approve this kind of man. You don't do this. But we have our own charlatans and quickly. Then we are now trying to escape by saying, oh, the opposition has gone to bed with the president. That is wrong. That is a lie. That is unconstitutional. Let us look at our constitution. We see where our weaknesses are. The judiciary is doing its part. He is doing it well. I didn't agree with the nullification of the presidential election in 2017. But I have always said it is good to have a Canadian judiciary that can say no to anybody. Let us hope and trust that after the next election 2022, we will have parliamentarians who have the spine, the gravitas, the knowledge, the intellect, and the patriotism to stand up and say, look, there are things we are going to accept, there are things we are not going to accept. But for now, we have cheerleaders, rumor mongers, and all sorts of people waiting. And when I do that, if you can tell one another in the face, this is wrong, this is right. Okay. Let us go by the Constitution. Let us not look for excuse outside the Constitution.
I hear you, Weda. And Muthuma, I want to bring this to you. So Weda says, look, stop blaming Raila Odinga. There is nowhere in the Constitution that it says the opposition has to check. It has to be the judiciary and the legislature. He seems to think the weak link in keeping the government in check here is the legislature. From where you sit, do we need an opposition? Does it play a critical role? And Weda doesn't seem to think that the lack of opposition should get us to where we are, if at all the judiciary and the legislature was playing its part.
Well, on this one, Weda is wrong, and I think I'm right. You see, you're looking at a country that's made primarily of major parties. And when, Raila was coming in with NASA, when NASA did not win the presidency, it became their official opposition. And so, yeah, Weda probably has a point when you say we should not blame Raila per se, but the way we know how things are run, him as being the party leader does or calls a lot of shots. So, let's not be grainy about that. But having said that, I still think the opposition, whether they are in Parliament or the National Assembly or the Senate, or even probably from when we look at it from the county assemblies, most of the time you have a balance. Those that are not, or what you'd say, those are in power. Take Nairobi as an example. You still have MCAs who belonged to a different party. And what they were calling for most of the time is to look at the gaps that exist and try to show the leading or the majority, this is where we should go. In other words, they were giving voice to where they thought things were not working or why those situations came to exist. So I think whether it's not all lost that, this country is primarily run by major parties, and in this case, when one coalition does not make into power, it actually jumps into the official opposition. And that's why even if you look at BBI, it is actually prescribing for the official opposition to actually have the meat, to actually have, whether you're looking at him to, the whole 9 yards. And, it is going to strengthen democracy. All the time when you have an effective opposition, Linda, what it does primarily is to look at how democracy, if they are quite informed. I am not saying, and that's why from the onset I said, Linda, you're not looking for opposition to oppose everything. You're looking at one with meaning and purpose, that they will be able to sit even with the administration of the day and argue things out, sit and agree on modalities. And say, on this one, albeit the fact that you have the money to do it, we do not think it is the best at this point. So here we are not personalizing Weda or saying that the man at Guambo, Honorable Baba, that everybody should point fingers at him. No, but we are also mindful that he runs a great, huge coalition, and they listen to him. So when he gives direction, as you have seen in the past, the people who subscribe to his party and ideologies, they do follow. All right, so that's what I'm calling about. It's not the fact that we are pointing fingers. No, we are just talking about strengthening democracy in our great country.
Muthuma, listen, you're talking about strengthening democracy in our country. I want us to listen to Njeru Gavangu. And they're saying, look, if you don't have a working official opposition, then perhaps the people out there should form their own movement and try and keep the government in check. Let's listen to that.
What I think the people should do now is to bring themselves to form, and very seriously so, another movement that is going to, one, neutralize any effects of ill will that would bring rupture in this country.
It's wrong. Okay, they form a movement and then do what with that movement? See, an opposition already has an effect in the way they deliver. Why I mean on the effect on they have a system on how they deliver is because they are represented in all spheres of the legislature, as well as even in counties. They are well represented. They have their own dockets. For instance, if you go to the Senate, you will have them. They have a structure. In the National Assembly, they have a structure. At county government, they have a structure. So what other thing are you building? Are we not going to have what we saw sometime, I think, in Uhuru Park some years back, people calling themselves, I don't know what. That's what we don't want. We do not want that. And Weda can support me on that. Ask him and he'll tell you the same.
Weda, do you support what Muthuma is saying as we come to the end of this conversation?
Lindah, that is very clear.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money. Either you have resources to play that position politics they are talking about. So where is Raila going to get all that money to keep on paying? You are paid, the other people are paid to eat in parliament, and then he's supposed to be doing the opposition. This same Kenyans who are saying, when the Raila wants blame opposition if we chose to vote hard? Let us not pin our blame or hope on an individual. Let us tell our leaders, the people who's in the forefront and telling my president that Your Excellency, you make what others do this, are MP, led by Moses Kuria, my friend, led by Kamini Keba. They cannot go back and say, this is our presidency, this is our home. The tribal manner in which we approach this thing is the same way now you are saying, where's Raila? Let him continue with this call no nation in the opposition as they drag out, and that's inside without government. I thank Raila for abandoning that place, and people can see that the role of opposition is for all of us. All. Not the winners, not the who. Let us play. If we are unable to play, let us keep quiet. Why is Muthuma not playing? Why are Muthuma not playing? Why are the people in Parliament quiet? Why are the people in the Senate quiet? Why? Muthuma, why are you not standing up and saying, I am not the leader of opposition, I am not going to play? Why do we not say, right? You have been busted. This time, Baba played number 9, and I think people are under the bridge. And instead of blaming the president sometimes for disobeying court orders, they are just trying to blame Raila. Oh, Raila, you know, these things are happening because you are born to the... Sure, blame the America. Don't blame the president as a big one. What if he was to rest with his ancestors? What if he was to retire from politics? Would we go and drag him out of the bed and say, you can't be sleeping here in Oxford, yet you're supposed to be playing the position? Somebody is doing that. Let Kenyans not have that excuse. Let them say, no, they elected charlatans, vultures of reaction, people who do nothing in Parliament. Now they are doing nothing, and Honorable Raila is outside, is a private citizen, and we are blaming him. Yes. That is not Jesus. You keep Muthuma, and we rebuke that thinking in the name, the King of Kings.
Okay, today Weda is even speaking Swahili. Muthuma.
Lindah, don't allow Weda to go scot-free on that one. All I'm saying is nobody is blaming Barbara, and I wouldn't even allow anybody at this juncture to blame the Right Honorable Agwambo. Nobody should do that. Baba actually has done us great. I mean, throughout years, I mean, there's some of the democratic space that we enjoy, you know, is highly credited to Baba, and we cannot take that away from him. However, all I'm saying is, Weda, and you have to agree, is that Baba still has a great following. And that is why you saw when Baba shook hands with the president, the country cooled. That just tells you. You know, even in Parliament, things cooled. Bills have been able to pass. I mean, as you have seen, BBI passed overwhelmingly in Parliament. It passed, you know, in the county assemblies. It passed greatly because, you know, of Baba. So all I'm saying is, we should not lose foresight of the very fact that we still subscribe to these parties. You saw some two people one in Parliament, and I think in the National Assembly, when they tried, you know, giving, and I was with you here, we actually talked about it, when they tried giving a legal opinion. What happened when they went back in Mashinani? They were almost pelted with stones. That is the kind of weight, political weight, that Baba has. They had to go and tell Baba, this is not what we meant. You know, that's all I'm saying, Weda. So we should not, be blind to the obvious, that we still subscribe to these political parties.
All right. Because Weda was in Kisumu, and we are talking about former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. He was part of the team, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was part of the team that organized the Madaraka Day celebrations in Kisumu. Whether you get the final word on how the preparations were and the fact that there's a thought around that there's political maturity in terms of how Kisumu residents welcomed all leaders, including Deputy President William Ruto, and just the entire celebrations. I remember the last time you're telling us you're feeling like you're next to power.
Lindah, there was power. And you know what? Power is cool. Things go cool. The people of Kisumu, the people of Lowland are very welcoming. It is only that we love to exaggerate. In 2013, when we took the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Finance, Uhuru Kenyatta, from Kisumu all the way to Weda. Go and get those clips. It was a massive welcome throughout Kisumu, all the way ahead of Oyubi Park and Weda. That is our nature. It is only sometimes that people get angry. And when they get angry, they throw stones. But when it comes to visitors, we deal very well, especially when Baba is also happy. This time, Baba was happy, and Baba has equally abandoned the lives of my brother Gabriel to remain in the opposition. And now they are blaming him. When Baba was in detention 9 years, Kenyans were eating, and they were going on, and they didn't remember. So now that things are getting hot, and they will get hot, as the Pietro Kajwan would say, because it is hot. Either you sign up or you bring up new leaders. I think what was witnessed in Kisumu is what we want to see. We want Baba to continue hand in hand with the son of Job. One winner, Uhuru Kenyatta, pamoja, and I keep on hiding. Let them add William Samoei to the chief chicken seller together, and then you bring in the man from Sekuru, Hapo. Then you bring in Musalia Mudavadi, and you bring in Weda and Lindah. The country will be cool, good, and we move on. Then Muthuma can be a chief opposition leader, and we move on as a country. They say now, some of us say, don't go back to opposition. Hapo. Muthuma Gabriel will be the chief opposition leader. Prepare yourself for the censor, police, CNI, being kicked around, and being in the court, fighting opposition with your money and going broke. That is what is supposed to lead opposition.
Okay, that would be a perfect place to end this conversation. Namasema Baba Rudi, kuna vile Baba na Rudi hapo. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Muthuma, you want to say something finally in 1 minute?
Yeah, I am not. Weda wants me to go to the opposition. I am not going to the opposition. You are going to be left to the opposition. But that was a great point. Don't forget, nobody is going to the opposition. Lindah, we are not going to the opposition.
We are not going. Okay. Good place to end this conversation. Gabriel Muthuma and Ambrose Weda, thank you so much for always making time for Checkpoint. And you, the viewer at home, thank you so much for watching Checkpoint. Have a good evening. Have a great week ahead. Sleep well. I'm Lindah Oguttu.